decided that I'm only going to be reviewing one book once a week. Ooh, sorry. Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. And if you're new here, this is Ashton's Solo Book Club. So I decided that I'm only going to be reviewing one book once a week because reviewing all the books I've read throughout the month, I felt like it was very overwhelming. And since I'm new to BookTube, I just thought it would be easier for me to review one book and also give a preview of the book that I have read. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about Captive of the Horde King, and this is written by Zoey Draven. This is an alien fantasy romance, erotica, if you want to get into it. And so this book is about our heroine, Luna, who offers herself up as a war prize to the Horde King in place of her brother because he decided to disobey the Dakari laws. And so she was taken away from her life that she's always known in this small village, and she was brought into this whole new world of the Dakar. And I felt like, and our hero, Ericon, I think that's how you say his name, he's the king. And I felt like there was a lot of mystery behind this guy. All we knew that he was like a barbarian, he was alpha, he was big, and he reminded me of Jason Momoa from Game of Thrones, which honestly helped a lot in this story because when I first picked up this book and I started reading, I was like, oh my God, I know exactly where she got this man from, and I'm digging it. You can't be mad at it because Jason Momoa is a pretty good looking man, and it also made the book more exciting. And so what I liked about this book is I felt that Luna was a very interesting character. It was definitely interesting getting to know how life was on Earth before the humans started finding settlements elsewhere to survive because Earth was no longer livable or for them. And so I did find her annoying at the beginning, but you do grow to love her because you see growth. You see her trying to assimilate to this culture that she was totally unknown, I guess, to this world, and it was definitely fascinating. And this book definitely had a really good plot. It wasn't just like a woman landing on an alien planet and they bang it out. Honestly, those books are really good too, especially if it's a short read. It's fun. And overall, the characters were great, and it also helps that our hero again looks like Jason Momoa, so you just picture this sexy man the whole time while you're reading this book. And what I didn't like about this book, again, I found Luna very annoying and sometimes became very distracting, but you grow to love her. And I gave this book a 3.5 stars, and I recommend you reading this book if you like Ice Planet Barbarians, and I just highly recommend it because, and if you haven't read Ice Planet Barbarians, you are missing out. Just saying, I think I might review one of those books for us so you get what I'm talking about. Okay, so now I'm going into the spoiler, and if you don't want to be spoiled, just see your way out and come back when you read the book. Or you could just read the book yourself and just get spoiled all you want. But if you want to stay, that's cool, because I think I'm doing this so that people can see the love that I have for romance, and then also see if they would be more interested in reading these kind of books as well. So let me stop talking. Let's get back into the spoilers. So at the beginning of the story, Luna's brother decides to light the fields on fire. And there's always somebody's brother, okay? Always somebody's brother who likes to catch things on fire. And I'm speaking from experience, okay? But his intentions were good. He wanted to bring life back to the crops because they were just so dead. There's no food. He was starving. I understand. I probably would have done the same thing, you know, despite the laws, because it just seems so crazy that these people are starving and that's the only way for them to get food. And so, unfortunately, he did break the Dakari laws by setting their crops on fire. And so the Horde King was coming. They all knew he was coming, and they always come for retribution. And so they're coming to kill him. And so we fast forward the next day. Luna is reminiscing on the first time she sees a Dakari horde. And you don't really see them often, only when they're either riding through or if somebody does something bad and they have to, you know, go chop their head off. And so she describes them as similar to humans, yet very distant. They have darkened honey skin because they're tanned from the sun. They live a very nomadic life. They just travel to different places with their tribe. It's actually pretty cool once you get into it. And they have golden tattoos. They have long, coarse black hair that falls to their waist. And they have flexible tails that like wave as they walk. And they have huge muscles. They have black eyes with golden irises. And they contract and widen as the light hits them. So when I think about this, I think of cats. And I think my son's eyes are golden with a black slit. So maybe similar to his eyes. And they also wear hides and fur that cover their bottom halves. So you can just picture this man wearing his fur bottoms and just his big bare chest with golden tattoos with long hair. Again, Jason Momoa from Games of Thrones. Just picture that. Just with cat eyes and a tail, obviously. And this part cracks me up because while her brother is stressing out and he's like, I'm gonna get killed, Luna is just sitting there like romanticizing about these men because she said that she found them very attractive and fascinating. And I understand, I mean, it's a big mystery. They're never really around them. And if you see buff man riding on their form of horses, you would be very fascinated yourself. And so during this first encounter, we find out that the Dakari horde had taken a little girl from their village once. And so since this happened, the women wear cloaks and hoods to conceal their identity and their face, pretty much. And so this is just the way they protect their women, and there's only so many people that live in the village because, again, they're very poor, there's no food, so you can imagine how many deaths happen a year or in months. And so the evening of the fire, the horde is on their way. And Luna was like, you know what? I'm gonna put on my cloak, conceal my face. I'm gonna go talk to them. But, you know, I'm very knowledgeable on alien romances, and I feel like the thought was there to wear the cloak to conceal the women's faces. But I was like, what about their small frame and, you know, their scent? Because usually with aliens, you can sense that they are women due to their hormones or pheromones, I don't know, that they give off. This is why I'm not into science, because I don't know the difference. And so Luna's brother is super apologetic about the fire, and she reassures him and tells him she made a promise to their mother to keep him safe and to always protect him. I thought that was very sweet because I thought about my little brother and like how I would do anything to protect him, especially if his life was on the line. And so the horde is approaching, and she tells them to stay within the walls, and she's gonna go figure this out. And Luna already decides that she will exchange her life for her brother, and her brother doesn't know. And so honestly, I would do the same for my little brother, even though it would probably really suck, but I would do the same. So Luna is standing there waiting on the men that she was fantasizing about. Like, okay, they're coming, and suddenly 7 Dakari men pulled up and surrounded her while drawing their weapons. And she notices that 6 men brought out their weapons, and there was one man standing aside, and she notices that he's one of the 6 kings. And during this time, she's staring at him, and she's trying to convince the king and his messenger to take her and allow her brother to live. And when this is all happening, her brother decides to leave the walls and tries to save his sister's life by confessing to his, or confess to him setting fire to the crops. So, of course, you know, the king is over there thinking about it, and he said, you know, you got to take off that hood, because he wants to see what she looks like. Like, what am I getting myself into? So she takes off her hood, and when she does that, his nostrils flare and his eyes contract. And I was thinking, like, he must really like what he sees, because this is a weird interaction. I've never seen this before. And so Luna is still begging, like, please take me, please take me. My brother, he's stupid. You know, please save his life. I will do anything. Just take me. Like, my brother is my everything. And his eyes are still contracting in and out. And I'm just like, wow, this is weird. This is weird. Why is this happening? And I feel like you can feel the tension on the page. It's getting hot and heavy, and they haven't even touched each other. And I was sitting here thinking, like, oh my God, I wonder what the whole book, the rest of the book's gonna be like. Like, whoo, need to sit down. So as the messenger is trying to respond to the Horde King, he decides to rip off her cloak. Well, maybe the front of her cloak, and then her whole chest was exposed. And, you know, he's trying to get a better look of his prize, that he's trying to figure it out. Like, does she have a hot body? Like, what am I working with? Like, is she a man? I don't know. And she feels very humiliated by these actions. But, yeah, there's no but. I would too. It was like the audacity of this man to, like, rip off her cloak and think it's okay, especially in front of all these men. But he finally agrees to take her, and because he likes what he sees. He's like, she smells good. She's young, she's beautiful, whatever. So she hops on their reptile beast, and this is what they use in the story. Instead of horses, they're like black, they have scales, they're large, and they have red eyes. So Luna's on the beast with the Horde King behind her, and while he's sitting behind her, she notices that his groin is really hot, and she's like, all right, I am regretting my decision to being with this man, to being his mistress. She thinks she's going to be his mistress, his whore. So, yeah, she's regretting it. You weren't regretting it when you're thinking about those fantasies and romanticizing about these men that are threatening to kill your brother, so you will lie in the bed that you made, okay? And so they were running for hours, and finally they arrived to their camps. And she was exhausted from the travel and the day's events, which is understanding. And she's also has a lot of pain, like on her thighs, in her inner thighs, because while she was riding the reptilian beast, they were chafing, and that sounds very painful. And so when she arrives at the camp, she's surprised about how alive it is. I mean, there was women and children running around, and she was also amazed by all the food that they had available. Like, their beast ate more than the people and ate more than the people that were in the villages. So it was totally a culture shock, because her village is just sad, and there's a lot of sickly and hungry people running around. And so I can see where she was coming from when reading that. And so she arrives at the Horde King's tent. It was very warm and luxurious, and he asked the staff to come in and prepare her for her bath. And so they were trying to take off her clothes, and she kind of fought in the beginning, but she was like too exhausted to continue, so she just finally gave in. And so while Luna is still in the bath, the Horde King approaches and he excuses his staff. And when Luna was taking the bath, she thought like water was a delicacy, and it was hard to find clean water. And you know, in her village, she didn't bathe very often, and the water was like poo-poo brown. And so they had to dump that water and give new water. Like, she was filthy because of the environment and the conditions that they were living in the village. But okay, let's go back to the story. So the Horde King comes in, and you know, she is very afraid, and she fears for the worst, because she thinks he's gonna R-word her, which is understanding. But I guess they were really big on consent in their culture. So he asked her to stand up, but she was very scared. And so he turns around and he begins searching in this treasure trunk, this chest. He has all these items, and she's like sitting there watching him search in the trunk, and she's just curious on what he was doing. And so he finally gives her a nightgown, and he tells her, "I'd rather have you be naked, but you can wear this for tonight." And he was straight to the point. He wasn't playing any games. You know what it is. And so then Luna gets out of the bath, she dries off, she puts on the nightgown, and he tells her, "Now you're gonna bathe me." And you know, the Horde King, there's no shame in his game. He starts taking off his clothes, and she's trying to keep her eyes above his waist because she notices the snake in his boot. Okay? And she's like, this is very distracting. Like, I'm trying to look you in your eyes while you're getting undressed. And he gets in the tub, and she's like, he's erect while she's like washing him, and she's like trying to avoid it. Like, oh my God, get this away from my face. Like, this is weird. And she's just not trying to make eye contact. Like, it was a very awkward situation, and I probably would have done the same. Like, this is weird. And while all this is happening, Luna is finding him very attractive, but she hates him at the same time because what he represents. Because again, she lived a very poor life. So Luna is feeling very anxious, and the Horde King tells her to relax because she's not warming his furs tonight. So she feels a little bit better, but not all the way, because she knows it's coming. And again, he stands up, he takes pride in his body, whatever. And she's just like, oh my God, this man is literally shaking this thing in my face. Like, this is weird. This is uncomfortable. But when I was thinking, I was like, it could be a culture thing, and they're fine with nudity. And as humans, we cover up, and it's weird, you know, if you're just shaking your thing in people's faces. And, you know, he did tell her, he thought about humping her tonight, but she must heal first because of the chafing in her inner thighs. And so Luna begins to ask, like, how often does he take human mistresses? And the Horde King, he seemed very offended by these questions, and he told her that she will be queen. So that is the end of a preview of the book. So the next book that I will be reviewing next week is His Darkest Craving by Tiffany Roberts, and this is a paranormal fantasy romance. I know they are trigger warnings, so I recommend reading those trigger warnings, especially if you experience some trauma in the past. And you're welcome to follow along and get the book as well, or you are welcome to my channel and just listen to me talk about it. It's fun. So thank you. I hope you have a good night, good day, whenever you're watching this channel, and bye-bye.